if the roles were reversed, obviously the United States, we're a first world nation. This is obviously third world. If the tables were reversed, we'd all be running south. You know, and I would say that, you know, Mexicans and people south of the border are good people. If they want to come up to the United States and work, let them come up here and work. But let's make sure that we have the biometrics. You know, let's give them a tamper-proof ID card that we produce, that they get to pay for it, but that we give them a fingerprint, give them a DNA swab, and give them a retina scan so we can track them. Because, like, how many people are in our federal prisons? 30% from south of the border. Not necessarily Mexico, but just south of the border. You know, so I just think the United States, we're a very fortunate country that we have two friendly nations, Canada to our north and Mexico to our south, and then we have the vast Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean back east. We just, you know, we have to be good neighbors, but post 9/11, we got to worry about the OTM, the other than Mexican element. And as you go further east, all that paraphernalia that's being found, that's written in Arabic, and having taught in San Diego city schools and knowing how the kids are having a hard time learning English, and now you're telling me they're learning Arabic? Give me a break.
I know.
So it's smart. We need to smarten up as a country and understand. And how do you define a country? Borders,
By its borders.
Language, culture, and the thing that ties the whole thing together.
This gentleman right here and this lady right here have their families in Mexico, I mean the United States, and they want to know how they could go about making contact with their family. You know, here they are, they're trying to figure out how they're going to get across, whatever, because they sense a sense of desperation to go meet with their families. ¿Sí me entienden o no? ¿Sí?
I actually live like 15 minutes away.
Aquí en Pearl Beach?
No, National City.
You have the Republicans that basically want cheap labor, and you have the Democrats that want cheap votes. So my position has always been, we can solve this. First of all, you make E-Verify mandatory. And then in addition to what I said earlier, you know, you give them that tamper-proof ID card and all the biometrics, you know, the retina scan, the DNA swab, and the fingerprint. But let's solve the other problem. Now that solves it for the, you know, that solves the Republican problem. You know, let's solve the Democrat problem. Photo IDs to vote. And then, you know, basically, you know, no one's going to be happy. If no one's happy, we're moving forward.
Sí, yo estoy ayudando también a la gente a mi manera. Y ahorita creo, mira, sí, yo soy presidente del Binational Border Solutions Task Force en Morón. Mira, el señor Crimmins aquí, él está tratando de ayudar a las personas también, pero él quiere arreglar un procedimiento de que la gente pueda pasar legalmente.
In my opinion, this is all, the whole thing is designed to fail. It's a facade so that the general public actually thinks that we're doing something about the border, because a good portion of the tax-paying Americans, rightly so, believe that the border should be under control, and Congress has to make it appear so. In the meantime, it's basically ineffective because everybody that wants to get here, especially from Mexico, everybody wants to come to the United States, does. Because the only thing is the Border Patrol is a speed bump on the way to wherever it is they want to go, and they just keep crossing until they make it. Unless they're a criminal alien, then they get caught up in the snare of fingerprints and things, and we identify them. If they're just a regular, otherwise law-abiding person, and they end up crossing the border to better themselves, they're going to make it. And so that gives the cheap labor, it continues the form of cheap labor to the American businessmen, and at the same time, those that just want people to cross back and forth because they have, you know, they have heartfelt feelings about poorer folks that want to better themselves, and they want that to continue. And of course, the libertarians, the third wheel in there, they don't want any controls on the border at all. They don't want controls on anything. And but to appease the American public, there's just a massive money thrown at the U.S. border in the form of manpower, infrastructure. Well, it does control things. It does help control things, which is what I would like and what the taxpayer, the general taxpayer wants. But it's, if you notice, it's pretty much done in urban areas. And now 9/11 changed some of that because folks all of a sudden were serious in Congress and other places that, you know what, we really do got to get a grip on this.
We got to get a handle on it.
We got to get this under control.
Yeah, because you know what the deal is. The deal is a terrorist only has to be right one time
Yep.
to get through. We have to be right 100% of the time to be able to stop them. So that's the chance that you're taking. And you know, when you look at the drug problem that we have in our country right now, 90% of the drugs that come into our country come right across that border. 90%. So I mean, there's some serious issues down here. It's not necessarily immigration control. You also have to worry about man-made caused disasters, according to President Obama. You know, terrorism, and then we also have to worry about illegal drugs. So there's a lot of people that got their finger in the pie trying to get across that border.